Hi friends, Alex Kai's here, and welcome to my home in Seattle. Now, back before Amazon took over Seattle, if you claimed the Emerald City as your home, people would just shout out, "Coffee!" And the coffee scene here is truly as good as its reputation. Now, the first coffee shop was Cafe Encore in the U District in about 1958, and it had a really nice, laid-back, kind of artsy vibe that inspired a lot of the modern coffeehouse scenes. What set Seattle coffee apart from the rest of the world was the creativity and the refusing to settle attitude that inspired tinkerer and sandwich shop owner Kent Bakke to start fiddling with his machine, travel to Italy, and start importing La Marzocco machines into Seattle. He talks about how when he got started in 1977, that there were only 8 espresso machines across the city. One of my favorite coffee shops today is the La Marzocco Cafe and Showroom, sharing a space with KEXP Studios down in Lower Queen Anne. Howard Schultz eventually buys a machine from Bakke in 1984, and you probably know the rest. Back in the day, espresso's ubiquity in the city was more than just a single shop or chain. You could find espresso machines from the dry cleaner to the video store, from the parking garage to the dental office. It was even sold on carts throughout the streets, which is how Espresso Vivace got started. A lot of people give credit to the gray, drizzly weather that pushed people inside into coffee shops. But I also think that it was the never-ending quest to perfect the art of coffee. There's something elusive and almost mystical about the mechanics and the chemistry and the community that's required in order to pull the perfect cup. But not everyone can afford an espresso machine, and I want to be able to make really good coffee at home. So I like the AeroPress for its simplicity and ease of use, and I can consistently make a pretty good cup of coffee out of it. But it's the Chemex I've set my sights upon. I think it's the holy grail of the home brewer, the ultimate test of coffee skill. And I'm not very good at it yet. While the AeroPress restricts you to certain techniques and measurements, the Chemex requires a little bit more skill and precision from the home brewer. Fortunately, I have a few friends who are coffee masters, so let's go check in with them and get some tips and tricks on how to brew coffee at home, and then I'll make the best cup of coffee in Seattle.
Hey there, my name's Justin Shaheen. I am the manager of Pilgrim Coffee House, which is about to open on 103rd and Aurora in North Seattle. As a company, we've existed since about 2016. We opened up our coffee truck in 2017, and we've been running that for a little over 3 years now. And we've been setting up at the Oak Tree Shopping Center right here on 103rd and Aurora for about 2.5 years now. And we're about to open our first coffee house, so we're super excited about that. I've been roasting coffee in this space probably about 3 years now. I think I'm coming up on 3 years. You can see we have our green coffee set back here. I go through probably at this point, about 50 of these bags a year. We work with Atlas, who's based here in Seattle. We work with Onyx, which is based up in Bellingham, a company called Red Fox based out in California. This is our Dietrich infrared 2.5 kilo. So I do about just under 5 pounds of green coffee per batch. So very much a micro roaster. Takes me about 6 hours to roast enough coffee for a week. A lot of people think that roasting coffee is this very romantic process, and it is very enjoyable. I really like my roast days, but it is very much sitting and just being very focused on making sure that the coffee is roasting properly and making very small adjustments to the machine. There's a lot of hands that touch the coffee before it gets to me, from farmers hand picking it off trees to production crews that are hand sorting it, and a lot of these bags are just hand carried to trucks, and I think the worst thing that I could possibly do is just burn the crap out of it or destroy it. So this is my travel coffee case. So whenever, if I go camping or for a road trip or something. So I have a Hario hand grinder. It's the 2 pieces here. This is a little hand grinder. That's the handle. AeroPress filter. AeroPress goes here, Chemex goes here, and then I have a gooseneck kettle and my scale. I have a recipe just saved on my phone for the Chemex. I'm using our Peru right now that we currently have that we're roasting. I'm on like the last little bit of this one. It's a little bit of a lighter roast, but it's got great like cane sugar, cocoa-y, nutty note to it. It's really very easy to drink. All right, so we're gonna do 45 grams of coffee. Using grams is important versus like scoops because every coffee has a different density. So if you're really trying to improve your at-home coffee game, I really recommend getting a scale and sticking to a recipe where you can control your grams and milliliters with water. You can be as exact or as little exact as you'd like, but I feel like these are the moments that it's really easy to be super precise. Sometimes the water is where you tend to make little mistakes. That's okay. So I have a nice little amount, and I'm gonna start my timer with the first pour. And so we're gonna start out with 135 milliliters of water. You wanna gently pour it and kind of cover everything in that pile. The degassing is always kind of a nice thing to see when you're brewing coffee. That means the coffee's nice and fresh. And on this last one, I usually do a little bit of a swirl to kind of just make sure that any coffee that's made its way up on the side is part of the slurry. Yeah, that came out great. I'm Justin from Pilgrim Coffee. Is that good?
Next, we're visiting my friend Tyler and Bailey's house. As a realtor, I helped these two buy a beautiful Queen Anne Craftsman a few months ago. So let's go check out their kitchen and see what they're brewing.
This is our kitchen. We have been here since August? I don't know, I don't have a concept of time anymore because of COVID, so not too long. Long enough that we've found some quirks. Like this countertop isn't actually on the cabinet. It's a very old house. It's like built in 1910, I think. And I've been told by our neighbors who have a similarly old house that this is actually like a Sears Craftsman. So it like was in a catalog and someone shipped it in and plopped it down. The hardest project that I've done in the house is in this kitchen. It's the garbage disposal. It was a huge pain.
That's a big project. Do you feel like you can do anything now?
No, I do not. I've been meaning that the upstairs bathroom vents into the attic, and I still have not fixed that. Yeah, I mean, of course I could just like have a coffee pot, but why would I do that? I worked in coffee for about 4 years, and I miss it a lot. It was like the best job I've ever had. It was so fun. And so I've kept it as a hobby. It's just really fun to like play around and try different things. So I guess everything kind of serves a slightly different purpose. I like the V60 if I'm just making coffee for myself. The Chemex is great because it makes coffee for multiple people. Cold brew, obviously, nice for the summer. The AeroPress is great for camping. I love this kettle. It is a much more even pour, which drives Bailey crazy. So, as you can see, we have 2 kettles up here. Theoretically, you want to be pouring a constant amount of water when you're doing a pour over, like exactly 8 grams per second, or I'm not that talented. The SCA has their like guidelines of what temperature should be, what the temperature of your slurry should be. It's between like 195 and 205 Fahrenheit. I do 50 grams of coffee, 800 grams of water. Other friends in the coffee industry, right? They would tell me I need to be using like this. So, third wave water. This is basically just like a bunch of minerals and stuff that you would put into distilled water so that you have like the proper like blend of minerals in your water, and they make it for coffee specifically. So 50 grams, right? To start, double that in amount of water. So 100 grams of water for the bloom. So 10 seconds, 100 grams, and I give it a little swirl. I don't get to make Chemexes that often because it makes like a lot of coffee. I want to try to get, I'm gonna pour until I get to 400 total grams. Pour 200 grams, wait 30 seconds, pour 200 grams, and you'll hit your 800. You're shooting, ideally, for like 7 to 8 minutes. Total. Compost your coffee in filters. Bailey, want some coffee? Okay. Yeah, but that's my go-to Chemex recipe.
Good morning. I've got the Chemex right here, and grinder, some coffee, everything we need to make the best cup of coffee in Seattle. Even though it's early in the morning. Let's give it a try. One thing I learned I needed was a temperature-controlled kettle. They say it's essential, so here it is. I've had this grinder for maybe 15 years. Baratza's great, and you should definitely buy one. If you're in the kitchen, then a scale is essential for coffee and baking tasks. And definitely store your coffee in something airtight. It'll keep it fresh. If you're a fan of beverages, then Seattle's got you covered. Pretty much all the local coffee shops are great, and the communities are really fun. If you're thinking about making a home in Seattle, send me a message. Until next time. Bye.